Good morning, everyone. So we have been talking to a lot of leaders in past couple of weeks, and today we have got again one of the known personalities in the IT industry in Middle East, and we really hope to get some insightful, discussions with him. So we have Mr. Arindam Sengupta, who is a Forbes Middle East Top 100 executive. He has been a past head of HCL Technologies for Middle East regional head. Then he has headed a company called Microland, and currently he is heading the manufacturing and telco vertical for one of the largest IT companies in the Middle East. So welcome, Arindam. Welcome to the conversation. And because of your current role, Arindam will definitely be talking something around, around telco. And we would like to have some good insights around it because we probably this whole telco, this whole telco as a vertical, people have got a lot of lot of perceptions around it. There has been a lot of convergence that has happened with telco and IT industry. So we would like to hear from you. I mean, how exactly this whole telco as a vertical has evolved, and you being a part of you being a part of one of the largest IT companies and heading a division which is primarily focusing on telcos. Would like to hear from you how exactly this whole telco as a vertical has evolved over a period of time.
Sure. First of all, thank you for this delightful chat. And I
That is a
hope
pleasure.
everybody at your end, everybody who will be watching this are safe at home, their loved ones are safe during this troubled pandemic times. Yeah.
I'm sure.
So yes,
I'm sure.
telco is a very interesting vertical. I've handled several verticals, but telco has always attracted and interested me to a great extent. So see, the telcos have evolved a lot, and the way the analysts are looking at it, they're calling it as a journey from a communication service provider or CSP to a DSP, which is the digital service provider. That's the journey that the telcos are going through. Okay.
Hmm.
So more than a decade back, worldwide, the telcos, more so from the western side of the world, etc., they realized, there will be a severe competition in the voice space, which is their main, source of income, right? And that's when they started diversifying, looking into what is the other area they can look into, but never forgetting their core competence, which is, they are running the network backbone of whichever country they prevail,
Absolutely.
right? And so the journey started first in the space of being a complete ICT services provider. I mean, it's information communication and technology service provider, and not just a communication service provider, right? So what is evolving is basically the voice part of it is given. I mean, that has to be there. But that is not the sole source of income, and that is not the only source of income. And that's not the way someone is going to pay you an extra buck. If you don't give that, you're off. But if you don't
Correct.
just charging extra, people are not interested, right? So that's what it started off, the entire evolution or the disruptive journey. So essentially, initially they started off by certain, services like the managed IT services, the NOC services, the SOC services, and they realized very soon this has to be a separate DNA of business. It's not the usual SIM card business. It's not the usual connection selling business. It's not the usual maintaining a network business, right? So it has a different life cycle. It has a different way of selling it, a different way of delivering. So
Correct.
after initial struggle, two things emerged, right? One thing was the many of them created a separate company itself. Some of them created a different unit itself. So if you look at the likes of even the giants like BT and AT&T, who were perhaps one of the pioneers to get into this space in a very focused manner and do good
Hmm.
business, they formed a separate, almost like a company or SBU,
Entity
which is
altogether.
right. And then many of them soon realized it's just not simply jumping on this bandwagon. You need to then start doing collaboration with whom you are perhaps thinking you will compete. So the
Hmm.
global system integrators, be it the IBMs or the Wipros or the HCLs of the world, they started collaborating and doing a joint go-to-market of sorts with them, so that the delivery arm is strengthened because these people have a seasoned, delivery system and a good set of packages or service packages that can be sold to the market. And they also
Hmm.
have the most of them are mostly run government, semi-government in most of the countries. At least one of the major telcos will be owned by the government of that country.
Absolutely.
Especially if you look at the Middle East market, it's more or less a duopolistic market where mostly the government and semi-government nature. So naturally, they have a captive set of customers, and naturally, then it becomes a win-win collaborative situation. So two kinds of disruptions. One is into a managed services space of knock and sock, and secondly, a collaborative space instead of a competing space, right?
Mm.
So this is where the journey of, I would say the evolution started. And then it reached a stage of clouds. And then when the cloud era happened, many of the regulated markets where, the data residency is critical, especially for the government and the BFSI, uh, the local telco operators started offering them, which was initially the hosting service that evolved into a cloud service.
Cloud
But very
services, correct.
so very soon people realize that very soon the hyperscalers will also catch up. Means in the sense, an AWS or a Azure will have their point of presence in that country very soon to mitigate the data residency challenge, right? So again, instead of blocking or instead of competing, collaboration started in that space as
Collaboration,
well, right? So
absolutely.
again, both saw sense into it because end of the day, any large enterprise, it's written on the wall that it will not go wall to wall, end to end, one size fits all kind of a cloud. So I move everything to a single cloud. Most likely will not happen. Private and public both will coexist, and even in public, the choice should be more in the hands of the customer, right? So the evolution that telcos we are observing here is that they are start trying to become a one-stop marketplace, if I may say so, wherein
Mm-hmm.
customers can move in private, multiple public through a single pane of glass management, through a single pane of glass in terms of migration, and simplify the choice as well as simplify the operations on the cloud. So the idea is the multi-cloud hub. That's what
Correct.
these are evolving into. In parallel, the other thing which is is perpetually evolving and much faster than others, of course, is the evolving nature of information threats and information security. So that's
Mm-hmm.
another area. Typically we will see that large enterprises, large banks, oil and gas companies, again talking from relevance of the market that we are in, uh, had their own captive security command centers, right? But to maintain a
Correct.
security command center with the skills and the evolving technology and the constant upgrading of skills often becomes cumbersome. Okay. At the same time, the sensitivity of what you're protecting may not allow you to offshore, may not allow you to totally outsource. Again, a company with whom you've trusted your data for for ever since they have been existing is your local
Mm-hmm.
telco. Again, so a
Correct.
strong position that if you have been trusting me with your data, trusting me with your information for so long, I can actually become your security command center, like, as a
Command
service,
center.
right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
have definitely shaped up and will shape up even mature even more. And again, these are happening again in a collaborative fashion. So the collaboration which started with just a simple knock service or a managed IT service is now entering into this new era of cloud and security command center services. So that is something we have been seeing as the gradual evolution. And other than that, of course, uh, what we see is happening is more and more of digital products being launched by the various telcos, and
Mm.
as you know, ever since last year, ever since the pandemic hit, there also
I
has
was
been
about to ask, the role has completely changed actually for all those, ISPs, whenever the telcos, whenever we talk about since the pandemic has hit. I think you've touched the right topic. Yeah, please.
yeah. So in terms of the pandemic, so what has happened is, the normal view of many would be that, ever since the pandemic started, we are all at home and the only thing we're using is our phones and internet.
The laptops,
So the
correct.
telcos will be doing fine. I mean, like, right? So telcos must be earning money, right? But on the contrary, to understand the economic impact on the telcos, what has happened is, international travel is practically come down to zero, right? So that means your international roaming revenue is gone for a toss, both data
Correct.
and voice.
Right. Correct.
Because of lower incoming traffic of tourists, your prepaid SIM card sales for the tourism segment, which was quite big for, especially say UAE and similar, tourist friendly countries, including India, there's a huge drop, right?
Absolutely.
People who had multiple connections are consolidating under one or two max, right?
Mm.
So people are actually trying to save for the instability that's there in the market, instability in terms of job, instability in terms of their investment returns. So people are not trying to spend more. Okay. On the same on the same side, if you see the usage of internet, home internet has peaked
Correct.
like anything. School is on the
Correct.
internet, your is on the internet, but are you paying anything extra to the service provider for that?
Nothing.
Right? You're not. But the capacity is beyond full utilization, correct? So you have to strengthen your infrastructure even more to deliver even better than what you used to do earlier.
Mm.
At the same time, what has been observed is, the e-commerce is on a surge, right? Right now, it's like it's peaking like any. Even your moms and dads who were not so comfortable with online platforms and apps, they are going all out and leveraging the same
Correct.
again for safety security from the pandemic concern. So now from all of this, what's happening is if you have two things done, if you understand your customer journey better, customer psyche better, you can offer better services on digital platforms, which the customer
Correct.
may be willing to buy or subscribe to, okay, under the current situation.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
Mm.
this means two things. One is how do we, and right now the churn rates as per the global analyst ratings have gone even higher up ever since the pandemic started, because people are only at home using a service like never before. So somebody offers something better, you can definitely churn. Okay, and that can
Correct.
be an OTT streaming platform, that can be something on an app that you're using, something on a simple service of maybe a broadband service that you're using. Correct.
Even a single
So
small value add is actually triggering that, to be very honest.
because everybody is now totally into this kind of a service for their daily lives
Mm.
much more than ever. So that's
Correct.
why the customer journey, how you capture from the onboarding to upsell, cross sell, and remaining, making the customer loyal, as well as if the churn is happening, how the churn is happening, and how can you stop it on one
Hmm.
side. The second side is, your network performance has to be better than ever before. So
Optimize.
can you make it more proactively maintain it? Can you do more predictive analytics around it? So the biggest thing, the biggest asset, the biggest oil, I would say that, the telcos are sitting on is customer data, which they have been
Absolutely.
acquiring years and years. So now is the right time to invest and make an ROI out of it. Now is the
Mm.
right time where they're actually, hiring people who are actually trying to see how you can monetize this data,
Monitor.
in terms of,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so your big data, your data lakes, your various analytics, your AI/ML is
Mm.
all coming into force out here. RPA is being used very, very effectively to reduce customer operations costs, at the same time improve customer experience. Okay, and
Absolutely.
this is the new streams of investment, which is only going to grow over time with the telcos. Are I think the two things from, if I draw from the pandemic, from the actual impact to where the more digitization is happening and where it's happening
Mm.
is one of the observations here.
And I'm sure, the insights that you have given, the telcos would have a much larger role to play in future also. I mean, definitely they have evolved. What you said, the journey that, just being a voice service provider to becoming a complete digital solutions provider. They're becoming a digital
Right.
marketplace, which is which is quite a statement actually. And you are correct. We don't realize it, but end of the day, we actually have started going to all those telcos for almost all the services that we need today, because things have gone almost digital across everything. We no more talk about physical, and I don't know till when this thing will carry on. We have no surety about it, and till how long we have to actually carry on with our work, with our schools, with our with our complete things sitting at home. So I think it's a evolving journey, and in future I think there'll be more. More responsibility that this telcos has to take over, and again with collaboration with larger IT players, like the few names that you have said, the IBMs and the Wipros and the HCLs of the world, who probably are niche in the technology part of it. Telcos niche with their rich oil, which is the data basically, because every other guy has got a SIM card, every other guy would have an internet connection, and they have their complete history, their complete transaction data out there. How to capitalize on that? I'm sure that's one of the things, and they will have much larger role to play, not only in terms of services but also on other things. Any other specific thing that you see which is futuristic for these telcos, which other than the points you have discussed, which might create a larger impact on the humanity, larger impact on on the whole society and industry overall in future, because things have transformed and this transformation will keep on going. It's not going to stop anywhere. But anything specific that you think it's going to be the wow factor from the telcos, which will be either as a service or anything that can actually make a complete transformation altogether, a complete change altogether in future?
Sure. I think, change is the only constant, as we all know. And
Absolutely.
two areas. You touched upon a very, very good, very interesting point. And I often discuss with my colleagues as well as my friends in the telco industry is that, of course, if you look at several things back home in India, Airtel Money is one of the most popular apps. So wallets are definitely one side of it. But now, even
Hmm.
looking at subscriber base, you can start full-fledged banking and financial services through an app. So your telco is also a financial service provider, and that's also a trend picking up. STC is already invested in it.
Correct.
They've launched. So now, very soon, others are going to follow, right? Anybody with a very large subscriber base, and where again you are the trusted party, you're not going to run away from the country. You're going to stay.
Correct.
You're state machinery, right? And
Mm.
you have been my trusted partner with my data, trusted partner with whom I've, if it's on B2B and B2C, if I just break it up into two parts. From a consumer side, I've always trusted you with my data. From the enterprise side, I've always trusted you with my data. From the enterprise side, I've even trusted you with my network where my critical information is being traveling, so on and so forth. So why not some bit of my financial services as well, right? So that's one very disruptive trend, right? But even
Very
beyond,
disruptive.
we often talk about, the IoT side of it, right? We talk about industrial IoT and we talk about
Interesting.
IoT. What has happened till now is, loads of sensors have been installed across everything, right? From traffic lights to refrigerators, right?
Correct.
End of the day, the two core strengths of a telco. One is the data part, which I've been talking about. The second part is what we spoke about right at the beginning, the network, the entire
Mm.
backbone of the country. The entire
Correct.
communication backbone of the country continues to run on you as Mr. Telco, right? So
Mm.
now connectorization first wave, most of the countries have been done by the telcos because they own the network, they can connect best in terms of smart
Correct.
cities, in terms of smart governments, whatever you call it, right? Now, the way it is going now with the biggest buzzword where everybody's talking about the next $700 billion industry is going to be the 5G industry and so on and so forth, right? Everybody's talking 5G, but pandemic has had an impact on the 5G also. Why, to get that information highway high speed, to reach the autobahn of using internet, are we ready to pay that extra dollar? Because there's an investment from the telco side. Obviously, it gets at least something partially covered from you, right? It
Correct.
was okay maybe pre-pandemic era, but in the post-pandemic era, they would rather spend in areas like cloud and information security where there's a concern and where there is cost saving, better service, and you're feeling more secure, rather than something which
Spending on a
is
5G.
running. It is running fine. We are not disrupted in our work at all. So are we
Correct.
ready to pay an extra cost? So what's going to drive this 5G utilization even more is, of course, what kind of use cases run on top of that in terms of industry.
Correct.
Another emerging side of it, what is emerging, especially from Industry 4.0 perspective, the industrial IoT perspective, is edge computing, right? Because of the nature of the computing and the data crunching that will happen, it's huge, right? This is massive data. Like what's happening is, the machines have always been talking, but now it's talking on the internet, right? So that consumes huge amount of bandwidth. So you crunch that data, analyze the data, report back. If you want a faster delivery, you want more efficiency in your entire architecture, and the end customer experience, then the edge computing is a solution. And edge computing
Correct.
using 5G is one of the best use cases possible,
Okay.
right? 5G on
Correct.
the edge, for most of the leading analysts, are going to be by 2024, which is not very far away, is going to
Mm.
be about 54 odd billion dollars in terms of a market space is what they're predicting, right?
Wow.
And they are saying 45% of it will be totally around various use cases consuming data services at the edge, right? And that's how powerful this as a proposition is. Now, typically, is it competition free, or is it, or does the telco has a first mover advantage? Answer is yes, they have a first mover advantage, but do they don't have competition very soon? Yes. All the hyperscalers are opening up a market space for such use cases for edge computing. Okay,
Correct.
but that's just ultimately is going to need connectivity and the 5G bandwidth. So telcos are not going to go away, but are they going to be just happy with that connectivity part of it, or they want to own it end to end? The answer is most likely they would like to end to end own it up, right? From our current company, also talking to a few of the service providers on the same level. So the idea is what So for instance, there will be a technology for the rollouts of the 5G on the edge at the various places. There's going to be a central cloud that hosts these applications like a marketplace, right? And these will be industry specific use cases. Okay, it can be smart warehouses, it can be for the retail, a lot of smart racks, so on and so forth, wherein all the end device data and the device data analytics, predictive maintenance, everything is getting crushed
Correct.
at the edge, delivered at the edge, right? And this, if it's sold as whatever, as a managed service, outcome-based model, subscription-based model, this is the next level of evolution that's going to hit us, is what I firmly believe. And it's going to be driven by industry use cases built on the technology. So what's gradually emerging in the X as a service market today we live in is the outcome you deliver is going to define the business model, and technology is
Correct.
just an enabler.
Absolutely. Thank you, Arindam. I think I didn't had much of an experience on how exactly telcos are. I mean, we see it from outside. To be very honest on that, even for me also, there are a lot of other insights. I mean, in terms of the values and the figures that you have said, and definitely the future we're seeing it, how exactly it is moving towards. But we probably at times ignore the role of telcos. We just try to see what exactly we are getting out of a cloud, but we really forget that how we are getting those services, how we're getting those digital services. And in future, I'm sure they have got a larger role to play, as I said earlier. Thank you so much, Arindam. I don't want to, elaborate it or probably extend it too long. I wanted to make it crisp point, and I think you have connected all the three dots. What exactly telcos were, what they are currently doing, and what is the future that they have got. All the three dots are connected together, and it makes a perfect story for anybody who wants to know where this whole vertical is moving towards. Thank you so much. Thanks, Arindam. Thanks for joining us. And I'm sure we'll keep connecting. We'll keep connecting, and we'll keep taking more insights from you. And me as an individual, will look up to you for a lot of things. And definitely, I mean, there are a lot of other insights, interesting insights that we're gonna, cover up in future. Thank you so much, and thanks for joining me.